Welcome into San Francisco Giants Access. My name is Sterling Bennett, and we have three brand new signings to discuss today, and maybe a trade that could be on the horizon. The Giants added a pivotal, much needed starting pitcher to their rotation while also bringing in two new relief pitchers. Gonna get into the good and maybe the concerning, but primarily the good with all three signings San Francisco did just yesterday. Today is December 17th. There may be some more moves that are going to come up soon, but as of right now, San Francisco's 40-man roster stands at 41, and we'll get into what could be the change, what could be a new transaction on the horizon in the upcoming days as they look to dwindle down that 40-man roster to, well, 40 men. That said, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the show. And let's dive into the three Giants transactions that happened yesterday, December 16th, starting off with probably the biggest one of the bunch, that being the Giants signing veteran starting pitcher Adrian Houser to a 2-year, $22 million deal with the club option for a third year. Now, this obviously does not jump off the page like a Framber Valdez or a Zach Gallen, who, mind you, to all of you in the comments, thank you so much for reminding me. I forgot to mention this, that he also has a qualifying offer on the table. So he'd be in that group of Michael King and Ranger Suarez. So forgive me there, but Adrian Houser's name does not jump off the page like an elite level arm. That doesn't mean it's a bad move or one that can't be impactful for the San Francisco Giants in 2026 and 27 and maybe even 2028 if that club option is picked up. Now, last year for the White Sox and the Rays, Houser kind of re-solidified himself as a starting caliber pitcher in the MLB after spending 2024 going between the bullpen and the rotation with the Mets. And last year was one of his best seasons in his, over half a decade in the MLB. And 21 starts last year with Chicago and Tampa Bay. He posted a 3.31 ERA, his lowest since 2021 in 125 innings. That was the second highest of his career. Now, he isn't a guy who's going to blow dudes away, right? He's not going to go up there and strike out, 9 batters a game and have this wild K per 9 rate. But he cut his walks in half last season, and he limits home runs, a 0.7 home run per 9 rate with Chicago and Tampa Bay. And if you don't know this or remember this, Tampa Bay wasn't playing in Tropicana. They were playing in a minor league baseball stadium, similar to how the A's have been playing in Sacramento. So the ball flies out further. The dimensions are not as long as an MLB park would be. And so you get him out of Tampa Bay, where his numbers did increase in a negative way, and get him an Oracle, spacious outfield with some actual MLB caliber defenders on the infield. And you may see Adrian Houser's numbers continue to go up. And I think that's why San Francisco said $11 million for that guy per season. Why not get this done? Again, he's not going to be a guy you ask to help lead your rotation. That's Webb, that's Ray, and hopefully somebody else they can acquire in this offseason. But he's a solid piece to help round things out and be your number 4 starter coming into the season around dudes like Rupp and Birdsong, and if they keep Wissenhunt around him too, on a relatively cheap contract compared to guys like Dylan Cease, guys like Merrill Kelly, who we'll get into a little bit later here on the show. He's somebody that, when you talk about allocating your funds correctly, paying $11 million over 2 years, $22 million, really is the kind of money you want to spend if you are the San Francisco Giants. And I think it's not a nice boom or bust deal, but it's more of like a, wow, even if it doesn't work out, it doesn't hurt you. But if it does work out, that's a bargain kind of deal for the San Francisco Giants. Going to his more advanced analytics, Baseball Savant in 2025, Houser was 79th percentile in ground ball rate at a 48.9% clip. and also 80th percentile in extension. So, getting the ball there faster, having the extension, allowing what really isn't the strongest arm, the highest velocity to be higher than it normally would be because of his big 6'3" frame. Again, not going to blow batters away. Doesn't have high velocity, around 94 miles an hour on his fastball. And really, even the off-speed stuff isn't plus, right? It's not going to, not going to trick guys. He's a pitch to contact, 5-pitch mix type of player that can get guys out, which I really don't think is a bad thing, knowing where you play in the infield defense the Giants currently have with Adames and Chapman on the left side. Then hopefully maybe a new, better defensive second baseman on the infield next to those guys in 2026. I also think, the Giants may ask Houser to increase his sinker rate, knowing the infield they have. He was around 45% last year. I could see them saying, hey, go to 50, go to 47%, and let's force and pretty much feed into the teeth of our defense and allow Adames and Chapman to help your numbers, whether it is, they filled the independent pitching or the ERA plus and stuff. I do think the Giants fit Houser, who played for the Rays and the White Sox last season. That'll probably go in his favor with the Giants. And San Francisco wants opposing teams to put the ball into play, allowing their infield to make outs and make plays. And not to say make things easier, because while there is a fine line of, if you put the ball into play, you're forcing your defense to actually make the out. The Giants do believe in their guys at shortstop, at third base, to get and almost field every single ground ball, make every single play. You basically have 2 Gold Glove defenders on the left side or right side of your infield, And I think that's a big thing for the Giants of, like, we can get a sinker baller in here. We already have Webb. You add Houser, and they added some relief pitching to help add on to this of, like, even if guys are putting the ball into play with soft contact, we have the guys that can go out there and make the plays. So I think the Houser signing feeds into what San Francisco wants to do with pitching and defensively. But on top of that, don't forget, they were trying to acquire Houser at the deadline last season. Fast forward a couple of months, they finally get their guy to kind of round things out of their bullpen, or the rotation, But I think one issue I've seen, or one thing I've noticed amongst the fan base is, like, when the Giants don't sign a player and other teams do, like, say, Dylan Cease, Merrill Kelly, guys like that, the first instinct is to say, oh, why didn't Posey do this? Or why didn't the Giants do this? And if you compare the contracts, Merrill Kelly is 37 years old. He got $25 million per season. Adrian Houser is 31 and is getting $22 million total. Now, they're different players, different makeup, but Merrill Kelly, similar to Houser, not a high strikeout guy. He wants you to put the ball into play. He wants to lean on his defense like Houser does. And the Giants were like, why pay a 37-year-old with decreased velocity, still good off-speed stuff, still a very valid pitcher, viable pitcher? I would love to have him in San Francisco. Not at that price, though. You're essentially getting a lesser version, maybe more improved version, less innings from Houser, but maybe a better value with Houser, with the age, with the extension, and with the contract and pricing of the deal. Again, $25 million per year for just 1 year of Merrill Kelly. So $50 million total in his 2-year deal. Houser gets 2 years, $22 million total, and maybe a club option. You'd make that deal any day of the week. And again, they're different, but it looks to be, at least on paper, a better long-term investment by the Giants. It's what the ownership wants to do. It's what Posey wants to do. You don't have to have elite guys up and down your rotation. You don't always have to be the Dodgers. You just have to make the smart investment. And from a price standpoint, from a money standpoint, and really a longevity standpoint, there's that word again, and an age standpoint, Houser feels like that over a Merrill Kelly, who just wanted to go back to the D-backs and got paid handsomely, so good for him. And I think even if Houser, who doesn't really have the track record of an innings eater, a guy that's proven every single year as a starter, you don't really mind paying $11 million for a spot starting long reliever where this team has not had that for a while, right? It's Spencer Bivens a little bit. It was, Sammy Long a couple years ago. And you're just like, I don't love this. Bivens isn't terrible by any means, but you'll take Adrian Houser over a Bivens-like pitcher most days of the week. And again, while the expectation is for Houser to be in the rotation, pitch every 5 days, if that doesn't work out, he goes to the bullpen. He gives you spot starts. He gives you long relief. He can help maybe be a safety or some insurance behind guys like Rupp, Birdsong, or even a Max Scherzer if they sign him to a contract of like older guys that maybe can't start every single 5 days, or he can give you some injury relief out of the bullpen. Like there's ways to almost cope with the idea of the Houser as a starting pitcher experiment failing, if you will, in justifying the $11 million bullpen arm that he could become. And I think, if you want to dive even further into this, last year, San Francisco traded away Jordan Hicks. Rightfully so. He was part of the Devers deal. He was terrible. He stunk. He was an experimental starting pitcher, right? Houser is much more proven than him, but they were getting paid almost the exact same amount of money per year, around $11 to $12 million, right? Houser, similar money, more proven. He can offer more value to you. He's an innings eater, at least over what Hicks was doing for the team. And I think Hicks is that one inning guy you want to be out there and give it your all for one inning. Give me 99-mile-an-hour fastballs and sinkers and sliders and blow me away. Houser is I can give you 5 innings for a start, 6 innings for a start, or I can give you 3 innings out of the bullpen when guys can't go or have a bad day. And I can help maybe if you're not going to pay for a high-end closer or relief pitchers, I can help kind of cut the game down for you. I can say Ray or say whoever goes 5 innings, let me get you to the 7th and make the game shorter. Whereas last year, the Giants really didn't have that guy, especially when they traded away Rodgers and Duvall. It was like, they ain't got nobody. It's Buto, it's Walker, Rodriguez goes down with injury. There's no one there. Now it's like, if Houser isn't a starter, as a reliever, if he can get you closer to the 7th and 8th innings with his long relief role, if, again, a starting time fails, you're in a probably good spot if you're the San Francisco Giants. It makes the most sense. It's a good move. And I think as a starter, it's a nice, B+ deal, C+ deal. It's not going to wow you, not going to blow you away, but it is a smart investment by the organization. But they didn't stop there. They signed 2 more relief pitchers yesterday. One of them has a lot of upside. The other one, that being Jason Foley, I think can add a lot of value to San Francisco, but there are some lingering issues with him. And I think could maybe lean towards this being a 1-year bust. But again, it's super cheap. Jason Foley, a 1-year, $2 million deal. And the reason why I kind of started with this might not be the best deal to sign is because he missed the entirety of last season and will not be ready until after opening day, if not closer to the mid-season mark of 2026, because he had right shoulder surgery to repair an anterior capsule injury. So whenever you hear shoulder injury to your pitching arm, you do get worried. That is a concern. Now, I'm sure there is some guarantees involved. I'm sure there is some injury settlements that can take place in case this doesn't work out, but he is the second guy and overall the third pitcher Posey has signed this offseason for the bullpen that is coming off an injury-riddled 2025 season. Not ideal, but if you want to talk about getting cheaper and maybe having more arms than paying for the one arm, this is the way to go. Kind of a, hey, if things work out, it's a big boom for us and it works out, we spent well. But there are some drawbacks to that strategy, whether it's Foley, whether it's Sam Henches, whether it is the next guy, Gregory Santos, on the list. you are spending a lot or a little bit on a lot of guys that if two of those guys works out, thumbs up, good job. But they're clearly buying low on high upside pieces and kind of praying those things bank, those things pay off. And if they don't, that's a dangerous strategy to play in. But I do think it's one the Giants are open to doing, knowing that if they can get more arms in the pen, they don't have to be reliant on, a ton of Tyler Rogers. And they don't have to work Ryan Walker to the bone throughout the year and wear him out in case they're in a playoff hunt late in the season. The more arms, the better. But with what they're doing, it is much more of a, wow, injury-riddled guys that you hope can work out for you. And I think Foley, if healthy, really works out and has shown over his short career to be a very viable pitcher, a consistent pitcher or at the MLB level. He's entering his age 30 season and over 210 appearances throughout his career. He has a 3.10 ERA. He has 35 total saves. He had 21 back in 2024. He was in the mix for the Tigers' closing role coming into last year. He gets hurt. He misses the season, and it's like, oh, great. The Tigers are like, crap, that was one of our guys. He was a big reason for their resurgence in 2024, making the postseason run late in that year. So the Giants are thinking of this of like, well, if Foley's out for half the season, Rodriguez is gone for probably most of the year, if not the entire season. If we get that midseason boost of a pitcher that has closing experience, getting back on the mound, and he's already a pitch to contact guy, so the velocity really isn't that big of a deal. It's more placing your sinker in your offseason or your off-speed pitches. This, like, the recovery shouldn't be as daunting, if you will. And to have that proven piece in the back end of your bullpen where that can at least give you some closing outings, that's what you want. They don't really have a true closer. And you're seeing guys, Luke Weaver signed today with the Mets. Other guys have signed throughout the offseason. Like, they need that. And if Foley, when healthy, can at least offer that to them if he can get back around midseason. Again, going back to his career stats, 210 games, 3.10 ERA, a handful of saves, but also a 1-2 whip to add on to it. He's a pitch to contact, ground ball type pitcher. And it's funny, you can see what the Giants are doing, right? You sign Houser, you sign Foley, you sign Gregory Santos. All three of those guys are sinker ball pitchers. One of them is more, hit and miss than others, or, swing rates than others and chase rates than Foley and Houser, that being Santos. But you see what they did. They went and hired Ron Washington. They're getting sinker ball pitchers in a park that doesn't allow too many home runs. They can avoid fly balls if possible. And like Houser, feed into the teeth of that defense and hopefully get some more outs and rely on the guys they're paying big money to get outs on a very consistent basis. So I like it a lot. Going back into Foley's last full season in 2024, had a 91 percentile, fastball velocity. So he's got some gas to him. Not a lot, but he's got some gas, around 96 miles an hour, 95 miles an hour, but more importantly, a 47.8% ground ball rate. Again, rely on the dudes and your defense. The worst thing for a pitcher to be a sinker baller is to not have a good middle of the infield, a good infield defense behind them. You got Devers playing first base. Hopefully in another offseason, he can kind of work on his footwork and get things figured out. Maybe you bring back Thomas Smith. I don't know. You have Bryce Eldridge there, kind of a clunkier, lanky first baseman. But if you get maybe a better second baseman, or Casey Schmidt takes a jump in year 2 as a second baseman with San Francisco, you love Chapman, you love Adames, you add in Ron Washington, you can see the strategy coming into focus for Posey and the Giants. Not a strikeout guy. He's not going to do that, but he's a pure sinker baller with closing experience, and this team desperately needs that. Again, right now he's hurt. May not work out from a paper standpoint, a statistical standpoint. You like the potential of the deal, but this is one of the 3 deals they made, the one where you're like, there is room for this. Like, he may never pitch in San Francisco, but you're hoping that he can get healthy and add some viable innings to a bullpen that desperately needs it right now. And again, Houser, small deal, 2 years, $22 million. Foley, 1 year, $2 million. It's all about not bargain bin hunting your way to finding wins, but I guess in baseball terms, you're not moneyballing your way to wins. You're just trying to kind of tape things together, right? You're not looking for the glue. Like these aren't glue moves. These aren't, hey, this thing is broken. Well, let's glue it together in one deal, right? This isn't a high-end elite arm guys, but Foley, at least when healthy, has proven to be one of the better and more consistent relievers in baseball over the last couple of years. He'll give you innings when healthy. He can give you saves when healthy. And that's just kind of the big thing is when healthy, but hopefully things can work out for Foley and the Giants. I like the deal. The problem is though, is that you cannot put him on the 60-day IL, which he'll probably go on to begin the season, which is fine. It's just right now you have 41 men on your 40-man roster. Is there a move coming up? I think that's kind of the question a lot of fans have. I have that certainly. And I think that right now, with the Houser addition and the Foley signing, it does feel like a move could be on the horizon. The Giants have an in on Freddie Peralta. They have an in on, which I think is a more likely deal for Brendan Donovan. If you're going to go out there and pay for sinker ballers, you got to improve your infield defense. You love Chapman, you love Adames, but go get Brendan Donovan. He's a heck of a second baseman on defense. He'll give you some contact. I don't know what that deal looks like, but you're going to have to move at least 2 guys from your 40-man roster to make that fit. So maybe it is a Luis Matos, maybe it is a Wisenhunt and a Fitzgerald, or some combination of 40-man roster people and players to make it work. But right now, San Francisco has to get rid of at least one dude to make their current acquisitions work. It does make me believe that they at least are leaning towards a deal for Donovan or Peralta, but I think Donovan makes more sense for what they're trying to do right now. I don't see any moves unless the Cubs are truly going to sign Alex Bregman. Maybe Nico Horner is that guy, but I don't think San Francisco's is done. I think they want a second baseman. There's a reason why you heard the Mariners and the Giants as the 2 finalists for Donovan. I think San Francisco is like sinker ballers everywhere, get a second baseman, and we can kind of figure this thing out together. I also think, if you get Donovan and somehow don't give up Casey Schmidt, then Donovan can play the outfield too, and you can improve your outfield and second base at the same time. So there is ways to make this thing work, and I don't know who's involved in that deal, but I do think something is going to happen, and in fact, it kind of has to. Now, that could easily be a DFA of somebody or whatnot, which I hope not. You want to see guys get traded. If you're going to let guys go, you hope to trade guys away, but San Francisco seemingly has one more trick up their sleeve right now in the offseason. And I'm fingers crossed banking it being on Brendan Donovan being a Giant by the end of this month. But I want to move on to what I think might be the secret weapon of the Giants offseason so far. And it's a name that Giants fans are familiar with because he was in San Francisco a couple of years ago. And if you go to his Baseball Reference and his Baseball Savant, I think it's really hard to not be impressed by what Gregory Santos can offer the Giants in 2026. He was signed to a minor league contract, and I don't think I'm crazy to say I love this deal. He's a guy who, and I'm an avid MLB The Show player. He's a guy, every franchise I take, he's a guy who I'm always like, I would love to have him back on the Giants. Like, high velocity, sinker baller again, but he's younger. He was a San Francisco Giant for a couple of years. He was this team's former, 16th prospect, 13th prospect in the farm system back in 2021. So he was a high-ranking relief arm back in 2021. He was a Giant 21 and 22. He's a low-cost, high-upside reliever you can bring in to this team. And, when you're going to lose guys like Rodriguez and lose Doval, You want those flame-throwing sinker baller dudes in your bullpen, and I mean, I don't think it's too crazy to say that Santos, again, if healthy, because there's been some injury concerns, can do that for them. And I think a guy who, he was with Chicago in 2023 or 22, excuse me, got traded there after San Francisco dealt him away because he got popped for PEDs. But in 2023, had his first full season at the bigs, and he was awesome. A 3.69 ERA, a 2.65 FIP. He had 66 strikeouts and 17 walks and 66 and 1/3 innings. And it was like, wow, they let that dude get away. Why would you deal him? This guy's awesome. And it's a deal that since then, maybe it's just me. The minute he got on the scene in San Francisco, I was like, they got something. And things just quickly dissipated. And it was like, oh, like PEDs traded. Okay, that was a flash in the pan, what could be, and now it's a never what could be, or never going to kind of see what, the picture could have turned out to be in San Francisco. And shockingly, he was then moved to the Mariners, who they seem to find pitchers everywhere. They are very similar to the Brewers, of just churning out prospects left and right and finding pitching all over the place. And it once again fell apart for him in Seattle. He had, he's pitched 14 innings the last 2 seasons because of injury, and it's just been kind of a disaster. He had a lat strain in 2024 on top of bicep inflammation. Last season for Seattle, pitched 7 innings again. Then he had right knee surgery, and it cost him the rest of the season. Again, there's been so many highs. Again, a really good 2023 in Chicago, but a lot of low lows. Kind of a bad start to his career in San Francisco, pop for PEDs. After a great year in 2023, goes to Seattle. They were in the mix for a playoff run. You're thinking Santos can be an excellent piece of that bullpen. Then bing, bang, boom. It's just all downhill. He's in the minors. He's injured. It's like, yikes. But now that he's back in San Francisco, get him out of Chicago, get him out of Seattle, into San Francisco, cheap minor league contract, a deal where it's like, if you want to salvage your MLB playing career, come back to the place that you kind of made your bread early, kind of rewrite the wrong that was your first couple of years with the Giants. Again, being this team's number 13th ranked prospect in 2021. And hopefully rekindle some magic in the orange and black, get into a big, spacious ballpark, a good infield defense that hopefully has some help at second base, like we already talked about plenty of times with Foley and Houser. But also, like, he's a guy that, unlike Foley, unlike Houser, he kind of becomes a very unique piece in the Giants bullpen. Like, the only other guy that comes to mind that kind of, while they're different, like Peguero is probably the one guy where you're like, okay, high velocity sinker baller, a little wild. The walks are high. There's a lot of inaccuracies. It's like, that kind of feels like the mold of, like, if you can kind of hone things in, there's a really good pitcher. Because if you go to his, the advanced analytics, the baseball savant stuff, despite the injuries he had in 2025, fastball touched 97 miles an hour consistently. He had a 64.3% ground ball rate last year. Go back 2 years ago in 2024. His fastball was hitting 99 miles an hour. He was limiting walks. He had a really high ground ball rate, still at 56.5%. And it's like, man, like, there's a good pitcher in there somewhere. It's just, can you stay healthy and can you be more consistent? Can you limit your walks? Can you kind of get over the hump from the knee injury, from the shoulder injury, from the lat injury, from the bicep injury? How can you move past the arm injuries you've had and the knee injury and get back on the mound? And I think playing an Oracle can do him some wonders. You go back to his full 2023 season. I already kind of gave you the counting stats, but he was 98th percentile in fastball velo, 91st percentile in chase rate, 85th% in walk rate, 100%, so led the entire league in barrel rate, and 87th percentile in ground ball rate. Gregory Santos, on a minor league deal, might be the secret weapon in this Giants bullpen this year, where you lose Randy and it sucks and you hate it. You don't really trust Ryan Walker, but you want to have that high velocity and just kind of nasty dude out there in your seventh, eighth, and maybe ninth innings if all things go well. I think he can be that guy for you. Now, there isn't a track record of saves, there isn't like that on his resume, but for just dudes that are nasty, dudes that you're like, whew, good luck hitting that guy. Which which he's shown when healthy is kind of hard to do. I think Santos is, at least of this grouping of Houser and of Foley and himself. I think the Santos deal to me is my favorite one. I really, really, really do. We also have some breaking news on the show, which may also burn some Giants fans. This is from Francis Romero, who is basically known for being one of the best international baseball reporters in the entire country and league. He says around 5 MLB teams have shown real interest in 27-year-old Japanese ace Tatsuya Imai. The Yankees and the Cubs are expected to be finalists for Imai. His posting window is open till January 2nd of this year, so some time, to kind of get things done. But yeah. It does seem like the Giants are out on Imai, which makes the Houser signing, albeit not as big, may make it more important knowing the impact it could have. But San Francisco still needs a number 3 starting pitcher. Do you like the Houser deal? Do you think it's a good? I think maybe the best way to describe it is a complementary piece to the rotation or the bullpen. Do you like the Foley contract? Hurt for probably most of the season, but once it comes back, do you like what he can offer? And do you like the Gregory Santos minor league contract? That is a low risk, high reward deal. Are you in? Are you out? Are you upset that Imai is probably not coming to San Francisco? I think, like myself, kind of already accepted that fate, but San Francisco, if you're going to sign Houser, that cannot be the only addition you make, and it can't be a Max Scherzer. Go out there and get somebody else. Whether it is Zach Gallen, who, yes, has a qualifying offer. Thank you to those in the comments below. That's why you're there. And look, also, you guys blew up that last video. Over 1,000 views. We have now 20 subscribers on YouTube. That was awesome. You guys are great. If you guys could, let's get this video to 1,000 views and maybe 20 more subscribers. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for watching and listening. The support means so much. That was our best video thus far of the offseason, and hoping to continue the momentum with this episode and more that come out throughout the rest of the winter time. That said, Giants out on Imai, it seems like, in on Foley, Houser, and Santos. Drop your comments down below. Tell me which pitcher you want San Francisco to sign to maybe fortify the rotation more. Is it Gallen? Is it King? Is it Valdez? Now, last episode, you were in the comments saying, get Gallen, get Valdez. What do you want San Francisco to do as the offseason continues in 2025, leading into 2026? Drop those comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Leave us that 5-star audio podcast review. Enjoy the rest of your week. And that's all I got for you. So, leave. Get out. See ya. Sayonara. Goodbye.